Hey folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today's episode is the Savage Worlds Deluxe Rulebook. You might be asking yourself, what makes this difference from the Explorer's Guide? Because I just got the Explorer's Guide because you talk about so many Savage Worlds books that are so awesomely cool that I had to look into them, and I got the Explorer's Guide because, let's face it, it's $10 and it's really cool, and I get all these add-on settings like Space 1889 or Deadlands or Hellfrost or Shantar or Sundered Skies, and now you're telling me there's another core rulebook I have to get, and what's going on, and are you losing your hair? Yes, I am losing my hair, but I generally shave my head just because I believe in giving into entropy. But beyond that, what this book is there's nothing in here that you cannot live without. You have the Explorer's Guide, that will be good for you. But this book is really, really handy because what it does is it presents a lot of cleanup, it builds in a lot of the errata, but there's more than that. But wait, there's more! It also includes a lot of rules options, and one of my personal favorite bits to this is it gives you some design notes, sort of like boxes off to the side that sort of give the background on why a game is built the way it is, why a rule exists the way it does, and sort of just gives you an idea for what's going on. So what does this book bring to you? Well, you still have the same basic 5 stats. You have the same skill list, although Guts has been removed as a core skill. Guts was your, hey, I'm not scared skill. Now it's not there. It's generally assumed you make a spirit check. And if there is a setting that is particularly horror or fear-based, say Deadlands, then that's when you would need, that Guts is included as a rule for that setting. Which is kind of interesting because I got rid of Guts in my games a long time ago because I realized we were never using it. Beyond that, you get a lot more edges to choose from. You get a few more hindrances. They bring in a lot of the more commonly used edges from other games or other specific Savage Worlds settings that they use that get brought in here. And then the rules themselves, still straightforward. There's a few clarifications. There's a few. Auto fires always confuse me a little bit. It's presented better in here than it was in the Explorer's Guide, so now I'm not quite so confused. That's just a for example. The gear is slightly expanded. There's a bit more there. There's a lot more, say, World War II modern fighting vehicles because you've got the Weird Wars setting for World War II. You've got a Weird War setting for Vietnam. So there's all these different options all these different things you can use. But let's face it, if you're playing in a fantasy game, chances are you really don't care that much about what a Churchill Mark VII tank can do, unless you're playing a Wizards fantasy game, which could be really frickin' awesome now that I think about it. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Beyond that, what else do you get in this? The same core rules are basically there. You've got the powers, which have some powers added in. And then my personal favorite chapter in this book is the setting rules. It gives you about 2-3 pages of different rules that you can add on if you want to. For example, there's a gritty damage rule. If you're playing something where you don't want your damage to be quite so pulpy, if you want bullets to be really dangerous, this is the way to go for you. There's also an entire set on PowerPoints, or how not to use them, that involve basically having a negative modifier to your spellcasting or your arcane background check and going from there. I really grooved on that because while the people in my games have never had trouble keeping up with PowerPoints, I'm not that bright as a GM, and when I'm juggling 8 other different things, remembering whether or not the Orc Shaman has used 8 or 12 PowerPoints can sometimes trip me up. I'm not perfect. At the end, you have the bestiary, which is pretty standard for the previous books, but it's there, and it has a lot of the good stuff in it that you need. For example, if you need a dire wolf or you need stats for a ghost, this is your one-stop shop for a lot of these. Also gives you the option of making your critters that you're fighting either wild cards, which are as tough as your players in theory, or extras, which go down with not much effort. The very back of this book, you have a lot of one-sheet adventures. And the one-sheets are short introductory adventures that kind of show off the rules. They're fairly straightforward adventures. There's nothing really convoluted or weird. For one of these in here is, there's a vampire infestation, go deal with it. And one of the nice things is it gives you the sort of some of the setting rules you might want. For example, there's a really interesting science fiction one in here called Salvage of the USS Kane. The setting rules it gives you are critical failures and gritty damage. So this is a game where you can get messed up easy. This is not a game of Flash Gordon. This is more Event Horizon. And for those of you who don't know what Event Horizon is, go watch it. It's really good and surprisingly creepy. So, the Savage Worlds Deluxe rules. Do you absolutely positively have to have this? I like it a lot. I would say I'm happier having it on my gaming table because it cleans up some of the rules. Bolt is fixed, for example, but it cleans up some of the rules. It clarifies some stuff. If you have the Explorer's Guide and it's going well for you, you can probably stick with that because, as I've said before, and I'm not going to change my point of view, the Explorer's Guide and one of the setting books is all you need for a very long, fun time of gaming. The Deluxe rules, though, fix a lot of things, have a lot of really good add-ons. I think that the rules modifications, or the House Rules chapter, is worth the price of admission alone. This will be the standard from which future Savage Worlds books will be published. I will tell you that it is completely back compatible. And one thing Pinnacle Entertainment has promised is that this book will, if there anything that's added on in here that is not presented in the Explorer's Guide, they will put up as a download off of their website. So that gives you an idea about the quality of the company. Savage Worlds Deluxe, fantastic book. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming.